Hey guys, I hope you are doing really well. Today I wanted to sit down and film a video that a lot of you have been asking for. I filmed a couple of ranking videos. I did blushes, I also did setting powders, and then I ranked all of the eyeshadow palettes that I've tried so far in 2019. So if you're interested in any of those, I'll link them in the description box below. But today I'm going to go through and rank all of the highlighters in my collection. Now, to be honest with you guys, as I was getting ready for this video and pulling out all of my different highlighters, I realized that I have way too many. And I kind of went through a highlighter phase. I wasn't into them, and then I wanted all the highlighters. So I actually have 14 different formulas to share with you in today's video. I need to go through and declutter quite a few of these because I've really discovered what I look for in a highlighter, which types of formulas that I like, and the ones that I reach for the most. So I don't reach for a lot of these super often, so I will declutter them, which I don't know if I'll do like a dedicated declutter video, but anyways, today's video is just for fun. I would love to hear your thoughts. All of this is based on my personal opinion, but let me know if you guys agree or disagree, and let's kick it off with number 14. So in number 14, I have to rank the e.l.f. Baked Highlighters, and I don't want to rank these last for some reason. I think that in my mind, I associate them with the e.l.f. Baked Blushes, which that is one of my favorite blush formulas. I ranked it pretty high in my ranking blushes video, but I just don't reach for these. I don't reach for these over any of my other highlighters, and I definitely don't reach for them as much as I do my baked blushes. There must be something about the formula. What's weird is when I swatch it, it swatches beautifully, and you know, I was into these for a while. I was wearing them, but I honestly cannot remember the last time that I reached for one of these randomly, let alone regularly. It's a little bit more of a dry formula, so I do feel like it is very subtle on the cheeks, and they just tend to take a little bit of work. e.l.f.'s baked products tend to be more dry in general, which can be beneficial. I think that's why I like their baked blushes so much, because they stay in place well on my oily skin. But when it comes to highlighters, I just prefer more of a smooth, seamless formula, and these just feel a little bit dry and chalky. So I hate to rank them last because I remember liking them at one point, but it's been such a long time since I've used them, and I've just discovered other highlight formulas that I like better than these. Number 13 is a somewhat newer highlighter. I believe this came out a few months ago. It is the Smashbox Hood Witch Crystallized Highlighter. It was a limited edition, so I don't know if you can still get your hands on this. The reason that I kept this is because the highlighter itself is this really pretty light, soft pink, and I actually don't really have any other pink highlighters in my collection. I used to have quite a few because it is a pretty highlight color that I like to wear, but I've decluttered them over the years. So when I was going through my collection, I realized I didn't have anything like this one, and there are very specific instances where I do like to wear a light pink toned highlighter. So this one comes in handy for those purposes, but the formula isn't anything super special that I feel like I would say run out and buy. But I do find that I reach for it a handful of times each month. I think this was around maybe like the $30 price tag. So I do feel like for that price tag, there are a lot of other formulas that I would recommend over this one. But because it was on clearance, if you can get it for, 50, 60% off, it might be worth having if you like this particular shade. Okay, so this is a highlighter formula that I actually really liked when I first tried it. But the more that I used it, I just wasn't a big fan of how it actually looked on my skin. So these are from Pixi. They are actually duo, and a lot of people love these. I hear so many people rave about this product on YouTube. These are the Pixi by Petra Glowy Gossamer Duos. I have two different shades. They did send these to me in PR. They retail for $18, and they feel really interesting. They don't feel like a lot of the other highlighter formulas in my collection, and when I swatch them on my hand, they look so pretty. And I have a feeling that these do look good on a lot of people. Now, I struggle with a little bit of texture on my skin, so I feel like all highlighters enhance texture to some degree, but some highlighters tend to enhance it a little bit more, and I don't feel like these sit very beautifully on my skin. They sit nicely on my hand because my hand doesn't have texture on it like my cheeks do, so that's why I always think that I like them, and then I go to apply them to my face and they just don't look as flattering. They also don't look as intense when I apply them to my cheeks as they do in the pan or swatched on the back of my hand. So number 11 is this highlighter from Persona Cosmetics. This is their Cali Glow highlighter in the shade ZUMA. Again, this is one that I want to love, but I just don't feel that happy with how my makeup looks when I actually wear it on the cheeks. I did get this one on sale during Ulta's 21 Days of Beauty, not this past round, but the round before. And again, this is one that looks so pretty when I swatch it on the hand. It has a little bit more of a dry texture, so even on my hand, I can't say that it's as flattering as like the Pixi highlighters. So maybe I should switch these around and rank this one a little bit lower. I think the difference is that this is a shade that I would love to wear because I do find myself reaching for this one all the time in hopes that it will be really flattering on my cheeks. But again, the texture of this highlighter just tends to enhance texture on my face. So it's not quite as flattering as I would have hoped. It does go on well, it blends well, it builds well, it stays in place really nicely throughout the day, but I just find that the formula is maybe a little bit too heavy for my personal skin type. So I'm ranking this formula at number 10, but it actually is a formula that I do like. Now, the reason I'm ranking it at number 10 is because I don't find myself reaching for it super often as a highlighter formula. I more so reach for it as like a blush formula or a blush topper. These are the Catrice 3D Glow highlighters. There are 3 different shades. Pinch of Rose is a really pretty pink. This is too dark for me as a highlighter, but I love using it as a blush because it's a very glowy, intense blush. I also like using the shade Warm Embrace as more of like a blush topper. If I'm wearing like a nude blush, but it's not shimmery enough, I'll wear this one on top. The one that I mostly wear as a highlighter is the shade Icy Glaze. But Icy Glaze is very, very intense, and I don't tend to reach for like super intense in your face highlighters. Like here's one quick swatch of it. That is a super rich, bright, icy white highlighter. So this isn't like one of my go-to shades. So that's just kind of why I'm ranking it a little bit lower. I don't reach for these highlighters on an everyday basis as highlighters. So number 9 is Mary-Lou Manizer from theBalm. And honestly, I feel like I could rank these 4 anywhere between 5 and 9, but I did rank some higher for different reasons. It almost feels like the Becca formula, but again, maybe just a little bit heavier. This is a really pretty flattering color. I like the formula. I think for me, I just tend to prefer a little bit more of a golden highlighter, just something slightly more warm toned, slightly more yellow toned. This one is perfect on days where I do want a little bit more of like a cool vanilla icy highlighter because you can sheer it out or you can build it up. And again, I'm always happy with how it looks. I just don't reach for it as much as I do a few other formulas in my collection. So that's why I ranked it a little bit lower, but I do still love it. I think that honestly I should try to get more use out of it. Right above that at number 8, I ranked the Laura Geller Baked Highlighter Duo. This one has 2 different highlighters in it, which I do love. It has French Vanilla and Portofino. I don't even know if you can still get this anymore. I think it was either like a holiday set or a limited edition deal. You might be able to get it. If so, I'll link it in the description box below, but I do love this because I think it's such a pretty everyday highlighter. It can be very, very subtle. Again, you can build it up, but it's not the type of highlighter that builds up to like a blinding intense sheen, and it looks pretty natural on the skin. I don't think it will work well for all skin tones. That's definitely one of the downsides, and I don't know if they had other shades. I just don't really remember a whole lot of information about this particular highlighter, but maybe I'll have to look into trying more of their products. I also did get their Baked Gelato Swirl Illuminator in a recent BoxyCharm. I didn't include that in today's video to rank it because it's been a long time since I've used it, but I just started using it again, and so far I do like it. Okay, so number 7 is the Anastasia Amrezy highlighter. I go back and forth on this one, and I really like it, and then I don't love it. I've never actually hated it, so I had it in my makeup collection because I never felt like I wanted to declutter it. I love a good warm golden highlighter, so I think that this is so pretty. It's like one of my perfect go-to shades. The actual formula is nice, but I don't know. I think what happened is that it was so hyped up. Like this highlighter was so hyped up. Everybody was raving about it. It sold out, so they brought it back and everybody was so excited and it sold out again. So I think in my mind when that happens, I hold those products to such a high standard because there's so much hype surrounding them. So it's almost like they don't really have a chance because in my mind, they're supposed to perform so much better than every other product. I don't regret spending the money on it. I like having it in my makeup collection. It's just not like my all-time favorite holy grail highlighter like it is for a lot of people. I know a lot of people think it's like the best formula, the best color, and I think if it works well for you, that's awesome. It's really, really pretty. It's just not my personal absolute favorite, but I do like using it. At number 6, I'm ranking the Pop Beauty highlighters. So these were released a while ago. These are their Prismatic Pop highlighters, and they have a couple of different shades. These are very, very smooth. They retail for $12, and honestly, this is like one of my go-to formulas because it's very, very lightweight, and that's what I typically go for in a highlighter. I just want something that's very lightweight that doesn't feel like an extra powder on top of the skin because, you know, when you wear primer and foundation and powder and blush and bronzer and then you add highlighter on top, there's just so many layers that sometimes, you know, inevitably it's going to look very heavy. If you use the right products and the right techniques, I mean, there are definitely ways around that, but I just find that this is like a very easy, low maintenance highlighter because it is so lightweight and thin. So moving into my top 5 highlighters. So at number 5, I ranked a highlighter that might be or might seem a little bit random if you watch a lot of my YouTube videos because I never talk about this brand, and the only thing that I've actually tried from them are 2 of their Diamond Glow powders. This is from the brand Artist Couture. So I got this shade, Summer Haze, in, I believe it was a BoxyCharm, possibly an Ipsy bag, and it is just so gorgeous. I used to have a really pretty golden highlight from the same brand, and unfortunately, that is something that I decluttered. I always get questions. Like a lot of you guys always ask me, do you ever regret decluttering certain products? Typically I don't because I find that I can always replace it with something else in my collection, but I am mad that I decluttered this gold highlighter a while ago because this formula is so gorgeous. And honestly, this particular shade is not as pretty as the golden one was, but I kind of had this bias against loose products. They're hard to use. I get them all over the place. I spill them. So overall, I typically don't buy loose products, but when I got this highlighter in a subscription box a few months ago, I was so mad at myself for decluttering the original shade because I just think the formula is so lightweight. It's so smooth. You can use it to like dust all over your body if you're into like all over body highlighters, but it just sits on the skin in such a pretty undetectable way until it catches the light and then it gives you a really pretty shine. So I think they are perfect for the summertime. So at number 4, I'm ranking the ColourPop Super Shock highlighters. I do have quite a few of these. I'm not sure which ones are discontinued, which ones aren't. So I'll swatch all of the ones that are currently available for you guys so you can see what they look like. They just blend out so seamlessly. They look perfect no matter how you apply them, whether you use your fingers, a brush, a sponge. I typically like to use a sponge, or no, I typically like to use a brush just so I can get more of a seamless highlight. But when I'm in a hurry or I'm doing like quick everyday makeup, I'll literally take my fingers and like press this into my skin and it just goes on perfectly, whether I'm placing it right on top of foundation, which I don't typically do, or on top of a powder. Okay, so number 3 for me would have to be the Ofra highlighters. I only have 2 shades, and I actually only had 1 shade until fairly recently. I've had the shade Rodeo Drive for such a long time. I think that I got this in a subscription box, and it's before they even repackaged their highlighters, but I love this shade. It's probably one of my go-to shades, if not my go-to shade right now. I am wearing it today, and I just think the actual color is perfect for me because it does have that golden hint to it, but it's also a little bit lighter. Like a lot of gold highlighters can be a little bit too dark for my skin tone, so I just find that this one is like the perfect gold for my skin tone, and it goes really well with whatever makeup look I'm going for, so I love it. You can sheer it out, but I think overall it's pretty glowy on the skin, and honestly, it's perfect. I recently purchased the Samantha March collaboration, and I don't think this is available anymore, unfortunately, but she did a really, really great job with this. She actually chose 2 existing shades to put into her highlighter. But what's really fun is that she mixed them together, but you can still wear them separately, which I love. So you can mix all 4 of the shades together, which when you do that, you get a really, really intense glowing highlighter. But I love it. I think it is so much fun. Or you can wear the pink one on its own or the gold one on its own. But I do love what she created. So I just think that the formula is very lightweight. And because I do struggle with some texture, I find that these days I just want like the most lightweight, soft formula because it doesn't look heavy or cakey or enhance a lot of texture on my skin. So that's one of the reasons why I really love the Ofra formula. I might rank it a little bit higher, but I feel like I'm still kind of new to the formula. I have had Rodeo Drive for a long time, but I haven't tried any of their other shades until I purchased this one not too long ago. I did grab one during Ulta's 21 Days of Beauty, so I can't remember which shade I got. I feel like maybe it was Glazed Donut because I got that recommendation from a lot of you guys, but I will be testing that one out soon. But in the meantime, I've really been enjoying this formula. Number 2 is a formula that I actually find kind of similar. I mean, it is different, but I've loved this formula for years, and that would have to be the Becca Cosmetics Shimmering Skin Perfector highlighters. I do have quite a few of these because I have a bunch of the full-sized highlighters. I have minis. My personal favorites are Champagne Pop and Opal. I think that these are so pretty on the skin, and I do feel like they have a lot of hype surrounding them, but I've also read comments from some of you guys who say that this highlighter formula doesn't work for you. I personally like this formula because, again, it is a very, very lightweight formula, so it just looks pretty on the skin, and I don't find that I typically get that super intense, like, highlighted appearance where it looks like I'm wearing a stripe of highlighter, which is what I like. These two are my favorites. Again, here's Opal and then Champagne Pop. So they can look a little bit more subtle on the skin, which is nice, or you can build them up to look pretty intense. I feel like when I use the Ofra highlighters, overall they look pretty intense. So on days where I might want a little bit more of a natural look, I'll reach for one of the Becca highlighters. I think Becca makes some of the best cheek products overall. Their products are very smooth and blendable and seamless on the skin. My only complaint is that these are so breakable. So if you are clumsy and you tend to drop your makeup a lot like I do, chances are you will break your Becca highlighter, which sucks because they are $38 highlighters, but I have done it, unfortunately, on more than one occasion. Okay, so my number one highlighter formula would have to be from Flower Beauty. These are actually trios. So these are the Shimmer and Strobe highlighting palettes. There are actually two different options at this point. So these retail for $14 each, and each palette comes with 3 different highlighters. My personal favorite is just their original highlighter because these 3 shades work really well for my skin tone, but if you have a deeper skin tone, they do have a darker option. This one is their Sun-Kissed Shimmer palette. So if the original was a little bit too light for you, the Sun-Kissed Shimmer palette might be a good option. It definitely has the same formula, so they perform the same, but I love this highlighter formula. I love that there are 3 shades in here, so you can mix them together, wear them alone, but overall, this is my favorite formula. It is so smooth, so lightweight. This really just feels like you aren't even applying anything to the skin. It's the lightest, smoothest, silkiest powder in the entire world. Like, there's one light application, but of course you can build it up and get something pretty intense and vibrant as well. I am just so impressed by this formula, and the fact that it's $14 is so crazy to me because it applies like a high-end formula. That is what I ranked at number 1. It's probably not a surprise if you've been around for a while, but I just think it performs way better than any other highlighter formula in my makeup collection. Okay, I just realized I left out 2 highlighters. I got to the end of the video and I did not rank these. The first one is the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter, and then I also left out my Fenty highlighter in the shade Hustla Baby. I had a mini highlighter, but it actually broke the other day, shattered all over my floor, so unfortunately I don't have that one with me. Essence Pure Nude is like a perfect everyday highlighter. I don't reach for this one as much these days, but for a while it was one of my go-tos. I'd probably rank this where I ranked my Laura Geller highlighter. I think I ranked that at like 7 or 8, so I'd probably put this one right alongside of that, like right somewhere in the middle. And then as for the Fenty highlighter, I feel like I have to rank that in like my top 5 as well. So I think I'd bump down the Artist Couture highlighter and I'd probably put it above ColourPop. So number 1 is Flower Beauty, number 2 is Becca, number 3 is Ofra, and then number 4 would be Fenty. I haven't tried any of the other Fenty highlighters, so I don't know how they compare, but Hustla Baby was one of my favorites, and I miss it. So I have a feeling that I will end up buying maybe one of their split pan duos because I think they do have one with half Hustla Baby and then half something else, which I'll have to look into, but I totally forgot about those. So just kind of snuck those in last minute, but that is the end of my video. That's how I would rank all of my highlighters. I definitely need to go through and declutter some of these because now that I've really discovered what my go-to formula is, which is a very lightweight, smooth highlighter formula that can be built up, but overall just looks very light and airy on the skin. I have formulas that doesn't really apply to, so I need to get rid of a couple of those. But overall, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know which highlighter formula you love in the comment section below, and I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye.